All right, Ryan Sakal, Icons of Foam, honoring Pat Rawson.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience shaping the snapboard, the Tom Carroll snapboard.
Yeah, what a board. That thing's an iconic board. I grew up, idolizing Tommy, and seeing that snap back in the day,
Right.
It was like, that was insane. The airbrush and everything, it was just, I can still see it in my mind. So when I saw it was gonna be that board, I was really stoked because one, I get to actually see the board, and two, like I get to have my shot at shaping it. So that was pretty cool.
Your time in the booth, like shaping that thing, like what were the high points where you're like, hey, I'm on this, and then other points like where you felt like, oh, this is getting be a lot more challenging?
I think the hardest thing for me was they give you 5 minutes to take the measurements off the original.
Okay.
And so, like that's your first 5 minutes in there, and so your nerves are kind of getting to you a little bit. So I think some of my measurements I was kind of like jumbled a little bit.
Okay.
So that was probably the hardest part for me. And then once I kind of started ripping into the blank and getting the planer going, that just does something to me, kind of mellows me out, and so that kind of got me in just, I guess, in the zone a little bit. I started to like really feel the board and feel what I needed to make out of that blank. But also too, like the other thing was like fine tuning it. Like I kept coming out and feeling the rails and.
Almost.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
And they're big on the numbers.
Yeah.
Big mix numbers. I didn't even see him grab the rails where I am.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So there you go. It was the numbers that decided it. So good to know. But yeah, for me, like it was the fine tuning that I really felt like in tune with that board.
Did you feel like, you're up against Ryan Birch, right? So it was like Battle of the Ryans?
Yeah.
So, and both of you guys were back and forth, like back to that, original board. Like,
okay, yeah.
Are each one of those trips like helping you to kind of get, like you said, with those jumbled numbers, like was that helping you to get back, back in the game, both mentally and then also with the tune of the board?
Definitely, because you're in there and it's like, okay, this feels good. This is kind of like similar to what I think it is, but then you come out and you feel it, you're like, oh, whoa, it's actually a lot thinner. Or it actually is a little more boxy than I thought, or whatever those aspects of the board that that you're looking for at that moment that you came out of the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these two were really close. As Pat and Roger shared with you. Unbelievable work, man. Hats off. Like,
thank you.
Especially under the time crunch.
Yeah.
People watching. They got bleachers set up like behind you and everything.
Yeah. It's a bubble. It's such a bubble, but. It's an honor to be honoring Pat. Pat is just such an iconic guy to me. Like growing up in the era that I did in the 90s and 2000s, like going to Hawaii and seeing everyone riding his boards, and even before that, flipping through magazines, like you'd see the R arrow. Yeah. And man, I emulated that logo when I was a little kid, and it was just like. Being able to know him and then just given the opportunity to work on this.
And have him choose you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge, accomplishment, like just to have it, because he doesn't there's a limited number of shapers in the event,
I was so honored when I got that phone call.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're not only in the Icons of Foam, but you're also in Best of Show, right?
Yeah. I put a board into the Best in Show, and it's a board that I made myself. And when Ben Ipa passed, I wanted to make a board to just make a tribute to him, just because growing up, like my dad shaped me a few stings, and there's a few stories that, Ben coming up to some guys and saying, hey, that stings right on.
Right.
And it just, Ben and Aquila and Duke, like they just have a soft spot in my heart, for the tradition of shaping. Like both his sons are shaping. He was a surfer shaper. Keela's like an amazing surfer shaper, and it's just like I can really relate to them. So when his health started going, I was like, I need to make a board to do something
and put your heart into it.
I did,
especially for Best of Show. That's something you really got to pour.
Yeah,
it's got to be all in.
Yeah, it was. Like that. It was, and I made myself one of those boards, and I ended up putting the duo fins in it, and it was a last-minute decision, but it just kind of made sense. And I am blown away how good this board rides. So I'm so stoked to to have a board that looks as beautiful as it does.
Right.
But it works really good.
There's so many different things going on. Like we checked out that board when we were at Moonlight.
Yeah.
And there's so many things going on with that board. You know, you got the IPA tribute, you know, with the Sting, but you know, obviously more performance, you know, than the original Stings. There's, you know, way more bladed out up front, way more rocker, and to go the duo fin setup on, you know, as well is really, and then just the finish work on it is beautiful.
Yeah, they did
you know,
a great job
everything
on
that comes out of your guys' factory is that, you know, is going to be at that, or you know, has the ability to be at that level, depending on what you tick off on the order card, you know. But yeah, that thing was cool. It's great that you mentioned those two guys, you know, Ipa and Pat. You know, like when the boards got as thin and as bladed out as they, you know, when they hit rock bottom in volume. You know, back when we were younger, I could never get a board thick enough. And the guy that made me a board that was actually thick enough, he's like, oh, I'm just going to go full the other direction. I'm going to give you like an Ipa thickness.
Okay,
you know, he brought that back in. And then Rawson actually made me a Sting that I actually have here at the show. It's a 7.2 Rawson Sting.
Nice.
So like, you know, like the fact that you're talking about IPA, that this whole thing is in Pat's, you know, Pat's honor. I've actually, the best day of surfing that I ever had in my life, like the longest, most insane day of surfing ever was actually on that board.
Oh, wow.
On that 7.2 Sting, you know, which obviously he's inspired by IPA as well.
There's something to that design. There really is. And from where the wing is, in front of the wing, and then behind the wing, like foiling it out the way that IPA did. Like he was so onto something. And I just made sure I used that part of his design in that. And man, it works insane.
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations again on doing so well.
Thank you.
And good luck in Best of Show. Like, you know, when Jeffrey and I checked out that board over at Moonlight, man, it was really impressive. Cool. So we hope you do well. And also really nice meeting your family. Meeting your wife and your son.
So stoked to have them.
They were like right on there, like you know, your son was like fully locked in, like watching him remove us.
Doesn't get much better than that.
It was really cool to see. Awesome, man. Congrats.
Well, thank you. Thanks, man.